There are children who never got to be children, not because they were denied toys or laughter, but because somewhere along the way, they learned that softness was dangerous, that needing was a weakness, that crying made you a burden. When did you stop feeling like a child? Was it the first time you realized your parents were just people? The moment you had to comfort someone who should have been comforting you? Or maybe it was quieter than that. Maybe it was just the slow, creeping understanding that no one was coming to save you. So you better learn to save yourself. Tell me, from where is this child inside you watching right now? From your desk at work, your bed at 3 in the morning, the corner of a room you built to feel safe, but somehow never quite does. This channel is a new project in my life, and I'll need your strength to stay focused, to protect my mind, and to keep creating. So, if you feel something here, if this resonates, stay, subscribe, like. Not because you have to, but because we're building something honest together. There's a particular loneliness that comes with growing up too fast. It's not the loneliness of being alone. It's the loneliness of being surrounded by people your own age and feeling like you're speaking a different language. While they were learning to play, you were learning to survive. While they were being careless, you were being careful. While they were children, you were becoming something else. Something older, something harder, something that knew too much too soon. And the strange thing is, no one really notices. You don't get a medal for it. You don't even get acknowledged most of the time. Because you're so good at it, you're so competent, so responsible, so mature for your age. People praise you for it. They rely on you, and you learn that this is your value. That you are loved not for being, but for doing. Not for needing, but for providing. So you become the strong one, the reliable one, the one who doesn't break down, doesn't fall apart, doesn't ask for help. You become so good at holding it together that people forget you might be falling apart inside. They forget you're still a child, and eventually, so do you. But here's the thing about being ignored as a child. It doesn't always look like neglect. Sometimes it looks like praise. Sometimes it looks like trust. Sometimes it looks like your parents telling their friends how proud they are of you, how independent you are, how you never cause any trouble. And you smile, because that's what you're supposed to do. But inside, there's a small voice asking, what if I did cause trouble? What if I did need something? Would anyone notice? Would anyone care? You learn very quickly that the answer is complicated. Because people do care. They just care about the version of you that makes their life easier. The version that doesn't complain. The version that understands when they're too tired, too busy, too stressed to deal with your problems. The version that nods and says it's fine when it's not fine at all. And so you become an expert at reading the room, at sensing when your needs are too much, at making yourself smaller so that others can be bigger. You learn to cry quietly, or better yet, not at all. You learn to solve your own problems before anyone even knows you have them. You learn that the best way to be loved is to not need love too loudly. This is the particular cruelty of being the mature child. You're visible and invisible at the same time. People see you. They just don't see you. They see your capabilities, your helpfulness, your maturity, but they don't see the cost of it. They don't see the late nights you spent afraid and alone, teaching yourself to be brave because no one came to comfort you. They don't see the times you swallowed your pain because you knew somehow that expressing it would be an inconvenience. They don't see the moment you decided that your feelings were less important than everyone else's peace. And the worst part is that you become complicit in your own invisibility. Because you get so good at being low maintenance that you start to believe that's who you are. You start to think that not needing anything is a personality trait, not a survival strategy. You start to wear your independence like a badge of honor, when really it's just scar tissue. You tell yourself stories to make it make sense. You tell yourself that you're just naturally mature, naturally responsible, naturally good at handling things on your own. You tell yourself that other people are weak for needing so much attention, so much reassurance, so much help. You tell yourself that you're better off this way, self-sufficient, strong, unshakable. But late at night, when the house is quiet and there's no one to perform for, you feel it. That deep, aching loneliness, that feeling of being unseen, not just by others, but by yourself. Because you've been ignoring your own needs for so long that you've forgotten what they even are. You've been so busy being what everyone else needed that you lost track of who you actually are underneath all of that. And here's what nobody tells you. When a child learns that their needs don't matter, they don't just become independent, they become afraid of being too much, afraid of taking up space, afraid that if they ask for something, if they show that they're struggling, if they admit that they don't have it all together, people will leave. Or worse, people will stay but be disappointed, resentful, burdened. So you don't ask, you don't tell, you don't show, you just keep going, keep managing, keep pretending that you're fine. And people believe you because it's easier to believe you than to deal with the truth. It's easier to take you at your word when you say you're okay than to look closer and see that you're drowning. And you can't even blame them really, because you've trained them to believe it. You've trained everyone in your life to expect that you'll be fine, that you'll handle it, that you don't need what other people need. You've trained them so well that when you finally do break down, when you finally do ask for help, they're shocked. They don't know what to do with you, because this isn't the version of you they know. But here's what nobody tells you. When you grow up too fast, part of you never grows up at all. There's a child inside you, frozen at the age you stopped being allowed to be one. And that child is still waiting, still hoping, still believing that maybe, someday, someone will finally notice. Someone will finally ask how you're really doing and wait for the real answer. Someone will finally see past the competence and the maturity and the strength and see the small, scared child underneath who just wanted to be held. You carry them with you everywhere. In the way you over-prepare for everything because you learned that being caught off guard was dangerous. In the way you struggle to accept help because you learned that depending on others meant disappointment. In the way you feel guilty for resting, for playing, for doing anything that isn't productive, because you learned that your worth was measured by your usefulness. People see you as strong, and you are, but strength that was forced too early isn't the same as strength that was chosen. It's a survival mechanism. It's armor you put on so young, you forgot it wasn't your skin. And now you're an adult, and everyone expects you to know what you're doing. And the truth is, you do. You're probably more capable than most people your age. You've been an adult longer than they have. But there's a difference between being able to handle things and actually wanting to. There's a difference between competence and peace. You know how to solve problems, but you don't know how to relax. You know how to take care of others, but you don't know how to let others take care of you. You know how to be strong, but you've forgotten how to be soft. And maybe that's the real loss. Not that you had to grow up. Everyone does eventually. But that you had to grow up in a way that taught you that vulnerability was a mistake. That needing someone was a failure. That being human, messy, imperfect, sometimes weak, was something to hide. So you hide it. You hide the parts of you that are still scared, still confused, still longing for someone to tell you it's going to be okay. You become very good at appearing like you have it all together. And most of the time, you do. But every now and then, something small happens. A kind word, an unexpected softness, someone asking if you're okay and actually meaning it. And suddenly, you feel like that child again, and you don't know whether to lean into it or run away, because part of you wants so desperately to be held, to be told you don't have to be strong right now, to be given permission to fall apart. But another part of you is terrified of it, because what if you start crying and can't stop? What if you let someone in and they leave? What if you allow yourself to need something and it's taken away? So you stay in control, you keep it together, you keep being the person everyone can count on. And late at night, when no one's watching, you feel the weight of it all. The exhaustion of never being able to let your guard down, the loneliness of never being fully known, the grief of a childhood you can't get back. But here's something you need to hear. You did what you had to do. You survived. You adapted. You became strong because you had no other choice. And that's not your fault. The fact that you had to grow up too fast, that's not something you chose. That was done to you. By circumstances, by people, by a world that didn't protect you the way it should have. And you don't owe anyone your continued strength. You don't have to keep being the strong one just because that's what people expect. You don't have to keep proving that you're capable, that you're fine, that you don't need anything. Because the truth is, you do need things. You need rest. You need softness. You need someone to see past the armor and ask how you're really doing. Growing up too fast doesn't just change your childhood. It changes your entire relationship with yourself. Because when you're forced to be an adult before you're ready, you learn to distrust the parts of you that are still young, still playful, still in need of care. You learn to see those parts as weaknesses, as things to overcome, as evidence that you're not doing enough, being enough, holding it together enough. And so you exile them. You push down the part of you that wants to play because play feels frivolous. You ignore the part of you that wants to cry because crying feels indulgent. You silence the part of you that wants to be held because needing someone feels dangerous. But those parts don't disappear. They just go underground. They live in the back of your mind, in the tightness in your chest, in the way you feel vaguely anxious even when everything is fine. They live in the way you work yourself to exhaustion, trying to outrun the feeling that you're not enough. They live in the way you attract people who need you, but never quite know how to need you back. Because when you grow up too fast, you become very good at giving. But you never quite learn how to receive. You never learn that love isn't something you have to earn. That rest isn't something you have to deserve. That being cared for isn't a reward for being good enough. It's just something every human being needs. And the hardest part is this: even when you know all of this intellectually, even when you understand what happened and why, it doesn't automatically fix anything. Because healing isn't about understanding, it's about unlearning. It's about slowly, painstakingly teaching yourself that the rules you learned as a child, the ones that kept you safe back, then don't have to govern your entire life now. It's about learning that you can be strong and soft at the same time, that you can be capable and still need help, that you can be the person people rely on and also be the person who sometimes falls apart. But that's terrifying, because it means letting go of the identity you built, the one that says you're the strong one, the reliable one, the one who doesn't need anything. And if you're not that, then who are you? If you're not the person who holds it together, what's your purpose? If you're not the caretaker, the problem solver, the one who's always fine, then what's left? What's left is you, just you, without the armor, without the role, without the constant doing. And maybe that's the scariest thing of all, that underneath all of that competence and strength, you're just a person who's tired, a person who's been carrying too much for too long, a person who deserves rest, softness, care, not because you've earned it, but because you exist. But you don't know how to exist without the doing. You don't know who you are when you're not being useful. You don't know how to just be, and maybe that's what healing looks like. Not fixing yourself, not becoming someone different, but slowly, carefully, learning how to be with yourself. Learning how to let yourself feel things without immediately trying to solve them. Learning how to rest without guilt. Learning how to need without shame. It means having conversations with that child inside you, the one who's been waiting all this time, the one who learned too young that they had to be small, quiet, self-sufficient, and telling them, really telling them that it's okay now, that they don't have to keep performing, that they can be messy and needy and imperfect, and they'll still be loved. But even as you do that, there's a part of you that doesn't quite believe it. Because believing it would mean admitting how much you've been hurting, how much you've been pretending, how desperately you've been trying to hold it all together while feeling like you're breaking inside. And maybe you're afraid that if you admit that, if you really let yourself feel it, you'll never stop feeling it, that the sadness will swallow you whole, that you'll become one of those people who can't function, who falls apart, who can't handle life. But here's the paradox. The only way out is through. The only way to stop being controlled by that old pain is to finally feel it, to grieve the childhood you didn't get, to rage at the unfairness of it, to cry for the child you were, who deserved so much more than they got. And then, slowly, to forgive yourself for all the ways you've been hard on yourself, for all the times you expected yourself to be perfect, for all the moments you denied yourself rest because you thought you hadn't earned it yet, because you're not still that child who had to grow up too fast. You're an adult now, and you have the power to give yourself what you didn't get back then. You have the power to be gentle with yourself, to allow yourself to be imperfect, to let yourself need things without shame. But you also have to accept that you can't undo what happened. You can't go back and have the childhood you deserved. That time is gone. And there's a grief in that, a deep, aching grief for the innocence you lost, the carefree years you never had, the version of yourself you might have been if things had been different. And maybe the work isn't about getting that back. Maybe it's about learning to live with the loss, to acknowledge it, to honor it, to carry it without letting it crush you. Because you're not broken, you're not damaged, you're someone who had to adapt to survive. And that adaptation served you. It kept you safe, it got you here. But now you're safe, or at least safe enough. And you don't have to keep living in survival mode. You can start living in a different way, a softer way, a way that leaves room for rest, for play, for the parts of you that are still young and scared and hoping for something better. There's something almost radical about choosing softness when you've spent your whole life being hard, about choosing to rest when you've been taught that rest is laziness, about choosing to need people when you've been trained to be self-sufficient. Feels like betrayal at first, like you're giving up, like you're becoming weak. But maybe that's just the old programming talking. The voice that was installed in you when you were too young to question it. The voice that told you that your worth was conditional. That love had to be earned. That needing anything made you a burden. That voice isn't the truth. It's just an echo of the past. An echo of all the times you were too much or not enough. An echo of all the ways you learned to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold you. And you can start to question that voice now. You can start to ask, what if I am enough exactly as I am? What if my needs are valid? What if being soft isn't weakness but courage? What if the real strength is in allowing myself to be vulnerable, to be seen, to be human? These are uncomfortable questions because they challenge everything you've built your life around. They ask you to consider that maybe you've been wrong about yourself, that maybe you've been operating from a wound, not from truth. And maybe the hardest thing isn't forgiving your past. It's allowing yourself to rest now, to put down the weight you've been carrying, to stop punishing yourself for not being perfect, to accept that you are enough exactly as you are, without having to prove anything to anyone. But only you can decide to do that. Only you can give yourself permission to stop performing, to stop pushing, to stop trying so hard to be what everyone else needs. Only you can choose to finally, after all this time, be gentle with yourself. And maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe you still need the armor. Maybe you still need to be the strong one. And that's okay too. There's no timeline for healing. There's no right way to do this. But when you're ready, when you're finally tired enough of being tired, know that there's another way. A way that doesn't require you to be perfect. A way that allows you to be human. A way that makes room for the child inside you, who's been waiting all this time for someone to tell them they can. Finally rest, that someone is you. You're the one who can finally give that child what they needed all along. Not by going back in time, not by changing what happened, but by showing up now, by being present, by being kind, by saying the things to yourself that you wish someone had said to you back then. You are seen. You are enough. You can rest now. If this touched something in you, you can subscribe or like, but only if you truly feel it. No rush, no noise, just honesty. And maybe, just for a moment, ask yourself, what would it feel like to let go? What would happen if you stopped holding it all together, just for one breath? You don't have to answer that now, but carry it with you, because some questions aren't meant to be answered. They're meant to change you.